Okay, I'm going to go over some quick tips on troubleshooting your Draeger Bump Test Station. Just some common problems that I see. Well, first off, this switch in here that releases the gas into the air monitor is a two-part switch, and part of it is mounted on the plastic part here, the black plastic inside of here, and the other part is mounted on this metal base here up underneath there. So you've got two parts to the switch, an upper and a lower, and they both have to mesh together just perfect. If they don't, the gas won't open up, or it might partially open up, and it'll give you a bad reading on your monitor and act like your monitor is bad. So what commonly happens is these screws come out. They'll back out, and you'll have a little bit of play. That's all it takes, is a little bit of play between this top part and this bottom part. And then this switch won't mesh together completely to open up the gas all the way, or open up the gas at all. So that's a common problem. So you got to make sure all these screws are in place. They go along the back too. There's three of them along the back side here, and there's one of them on the head of it, and there's two right there on the front. You want to make sure they're all screwed in and in place. Just to give you a little case in point, this one here was actually mounted right there by one of the guys, and what he wanted to mount it there, which is fine. And what he did was he took the gas bottle out, took the cap off, and he put a screw back there into the base, and then he wanted to put a screw in the head here also. So what he had to do was take these screws off so he could unmount this black plastic cover, and that way he could go ahead and put some zip screws on the metal base. And first off, what happens is sometimes you put a zip screw in the metal base, it'll tend to bend this base out a little bit, and that's all it takes, and then the switch won't engage. So that can happen. But what happened here was he put that screw in the head, put the screw in the back, then he put the black cover back on, and then he thought, okay, let me put these little screws back on. So he put one over on the head, and he put the two here, and then when he went to go put the one, or the three actually, that on the back, he couldn't get in there, so he just left them off. And then just, it doesn't take long, short time, he starts having all these issues, and what it is you start to get too much play between the top and the bottom, like I was telling you, for the switch. So you have to have all these screws in place and nice and secure to make sure it works right. A real easy way to test this thing is if you have your gas bottle in there, and push in on this and listen for it. Maybe you can hear it here. I don't know if you heard that little puff there. You should get that little puff as soon as you start to contact this. As soon as you start to push this down, you get that puff. You shouldn't have to stroke it all the way in, and then all of a sudden you finally get the puff. It should be pretty quick, because what that is opening up the valve in there, and it should be opening up fully. And what I found sometimes is, you push this down, and you finally just hear the puff when it just clicks in place, that it's actually not opening the valve all the way. You'll get a little bit of gas in there, and you might get some readings on your monitor, but you won't get all the readings, so it kind of messes it up. So that's a couple tips. Just listen for that puff, and it should be, you just push it in a little bit, and then you should get it. Okay, and the last thing I'd like to talk about is mounting it. Like I said, I'm kind of really against bolting this thing down, because that's what happens a lot of times, is this will get bowed out. And if that happens, sometimes you can turn it over and you can push on this to push it back in, and then you listen for that puff and you'll get it in the beginning again. You just don't want to push it too far in so that it opens up your gas the whole time and you lose all the gas out of your bottle. So you just want it in the beginning there, like I said. But I'm not so keen on mounting it, like I said, because that can get bowed out. And also a lot of the guys, instead of mounting it flat, which is the best way, they'll mount it like, horizontal up on the wall. And I just don't recommend it, because on the TV vans you're doing a lot of bumping around. And this valve, laying flat, it's already bad enough, because this bottle will shake around a little bit. But if it's hanging up on the wall somewhere, then you've either got the bottle hanging directly down from it, and I'll take this off and I'll show you real quick, because it's not really anything substantial holding this bottle in place. If you look down in there, you can see it's just a plastic bracket in there, And it doesn't take much for that plastic bracket to crack. And if it actually cracks right in line with where the valve is, where the bottle seats, you'll start losing all of your gas, or you'll get a false reading because you're just not getting all the gas going through the lines like it's supposed to. Instead, it's coming out that little crack. So that's why I really recommend mounting it flat if possible. And instead of mounting it with bolts, I would just use Velcro. That's really the safest way to do it. If you have to zip tie it, zip screw it, I'd just be real careful. Maybe put some spacers in here so that this doesn't move at all, because if this metal bows out, it'll screw it up. But that's a couple of basic tips. I hope that helps you out.